Hello and welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. Settle in, we are back, people. That's 2 episodes in a row. We are fantastic. We feel as if we're right back in the groove, and we didn't definitely miss 4 months. So, Brian, we are on to episode 2, the Sixth Extinction Part 2, Amor Fati, which, as you know, translated means I love big people. What do you make of this episode?
Oh man,
What's the legacy?
good grief! I'd
Is,
say
is it similar to Part 1?
I think the legacy is equal to part one. I think, look, if you don't like part one, you ain't gonna like part two. I
Okay.
I think, yeah. Have a guess at what the IMDb score is, and then I think everything will become clear.
Oh, the score. I never look at the scores. I never really know where they are. Are the rankings?
Yeah, the IMDb rankings. So, like, give me your
124.
124.
Yeah.
Ooh, 123.
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah. So if you remember, the first part last week was 122. This one is literally right under it.
Less. It's
123.
less.
So it's
All I'm
one
hearing,
less. Yeah.
all I'm hearing is it's lesser than last week's
Yeah.
episode, and that was low.
Yeah. But it's very rare. In fact, I'm not even sure it's happened before where a two-parter is situated one right above the other. Usually with X-Files, you get one part which is really good and the other part which is not quite as good. There'll be some distance between them, but this is like, nope, right there, because they're both pretty crap. And it's just, yeah. So that pretty much tells you what the legacy of this episode is, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And all I can say is I agree with it in the sense that, yeah, this one, I think, gets even worse than the last one.
Yeah. So buckle up, settle down, and get ready for another uplifting episode of X-Files Revisited. Brian, let's get stuck into this travesty.
Yeah. I can only apologise to the fans of the show.
Can we just put in a side note? We do really like the X-Files enough to actually do a podcast on it. So this is just a blip. I am 100% sure it's just a blip.
Yep. You get it in every show. You get it in every show. You get dips, you get peaks and troughs. Later seasons of X-Files, probably more troughs.
Right. But never episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah. Let's not forget that our averages for each season just kept going up all the way through those first 5 seasons. Second season better than the first, third season better than the second, fourth season better than, and fifth better than the fourth. Like,
yeah,
there's very few shows where I get that kind of curve where it's just where I start off loving the show and it just gets better and better and better and better.
Well, if I remember right, episode 2 in season 6 was Drive.
Yes.
Yeah. So is this as good as that episode?
Anyway, the Sixth Extinction II, I'm a Fati. We open up with Mulder watches a family playing on the... Oh, man, just reading these notes reminds me. It reminds me of what we're about to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
He watches a family playing on the beach. It's all whimsical and very, like, overexposed and soft focus.
Very.
Mrs. Mulder can't listen to the doctor any longer. She speaks to Mulder, then leaves him screaming inside his own head.
Yeah. And if you don't like this sequence, you're in for a rocky episode because there's a lot of this is spent within Mulder's head.
Oh, man. Most of this episode is in Mulder's head. Yeah. This, oh man. This is the issue as well. It's like, as bad as last episode was, this feels detached from it. And because of that detachment, it makes the last episode feel worse. Because, like, what I mean is, I would have liked a continuation of what they were doing last episode, only make it mean something, make it better. But instead, we go, no, we're going to change tack now. We're just going to go in Mulder's head. So it's kind of disjointed, detached, weird.
But in a strange way, this episode did speak to me because I spent much of the episode retreating into my own head, imagining a much better episode. So, had that going for it.
Yeah. So then Cancer Man starts talking to him telepathically before injecting him with something that brings him back around. His abilities seem to have gone. Then Cancer Man tells him
Don't say it.
He is his father.
God almighty.
I'm your father.
And I was like, wow. I mean, we already knew, but that's completely original, and I've never seen that kind of reveal ever in my life. God, it's so on the nose, and it's so horrible, and it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
And adds nothing.
It's literally the worst way to do it. And it's like, yeah. And
especially just pure like, I'm your father. Now wheel him away and start doing brain surgery. Like just start digging about inside his skull. Yeah. It's God.
Good grief.
I hated that line. Like I hated it with an absolute passion.
Right. Just because of the delivery, or because
I just felt it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
And I feel like I think we all felt that's the way it was anyway. We all kind of knew he was his father, but there was that, like, having it unsaid just gave you that little bit of, doubt. And I kind of like that. But by saying it, it's removing it all. And I don't feel it adds anything to the scene, really. I mean, Mulder's reaction shot is.
For anyone who's only listening to this on the audio version, you missed that one. Sorry. Oh man. So Critchgow awakes Scully, tells her sleep is a luxury. She doesn't like him. He says Mulder is proof of aliens because the virus he was exposed to 2 years ago woke something up in his genetics. Scully says they have to get it out of him. Critchgow says, destroy it and I'll destroy you. And then there's a phone call.
Yep. I feel like this episode has got a lot of scenes and they're all incredibly short. Like it just feels as if we're constantly jumping all the way and nothing. And it's weird because normally when you get an episode like that, it feels brisk and fast paced, but this doesn't. I only noticed it because you're writing notes about every scene.
Yeah. And it just drags, doesn't it? It so drags, and it's oh man. Like you say, I can think of a load of episodes where, I mean, Drive is a bit like that, where it's just like you constantly jumping from one end to the other. But because you're so invested and engaged in everything that's going on, you're like, oh no, don't go back there. No, oh okay, now stay here. No, oh no, but good. And it's just, it keeps you really on the edge of your seat. Whereas here, it's like, oh, not another Diana Fowley scene. Not another scene in which Mulder's playing Happy Homemaker. It's just, this is not my Mulder.
Nope.
This is not how I want to see Mulder. It's infuriating.
Yeah.
Right. I kind of like the tension there between Critchgow and Scully.
I like Critchgow. I think he's a good addition to both these episodes.
Yeah, because I understand Critchgow. I get where he's coming from. Like the truth matters to him, but it's more for selfish purposes, I guess. But but I understand it. I understand why. I don't entirely buy Scully's like disdain for this guy right off the bat, because he's clearly helped Mulder in the past. He's the only one who stepped up while she was gone to actually kind of get to the bottom of what's, he's providing answers. So yeah, I don't know. Feels like, yeah, when Mulder's in trouble, Scully just hates the rest of the world and feels like she's the only one who can actually do anything about it. So Scully arrives at hospital. Skinner says Mulder is gone. Mum checked him out, and she's on her own because he is compromised. So this is his way of kind of admitting to her that, look, something I can't help because someone's got me over a barrel. But I can't say any more than that. But so we go back to the dream, back to Mulder's head, and the child is father to the man is something that is said in that scene. I can't remember by who. Cancer Man talks as though Mulder has no choice but to leave his old life behind and become like him, and offers him a cigarette, which just this is the thing. It's like, one, you never buy that this is anything but inside Mulder's head. So like it plays as if Cancer Man genuinely has woke Mulder up, and that he genuinely has let him into his life, and that he genuinely is offering him to be a part of that life. Sorry. I feel like creeping up. But you never buy it, because from the get-go, you feel like, no, we're clearly in Mulder's head, because Mulder would never act like this. And I just, the fact that Cancer Man is making these offers as if we're supposed to buy that Mulder would ever genuinely consider them is ridiculous. Like, so it just all feels, it's a nothing thing. We know it's going nowhere, because we know that Mulder wouldn't say these things, and Mulder wouldn't do these things. He wouldn't get caught up in these things. Yeah,
because they tried to do a big reveal later on in the episode of going like, haha, it was all make believe in his head, and you're like,
yeah, that's exactly it. When they show you that scene when he's lying there, you're like, okay, like, could have got there faster.
Yep.
Right. Scully goes home to find Albert Hosteen, who tells her she must find Mulder for the sake of us all.
And this is in place of the last mythical religious man from the last season. Albert has taken up the mantle of mythical deity who's guiding her along her journey.
Yeah, kind of. Do you mean from the last episode?
From the last episode where we had the guy that kept appearing and then told him in the car, this truth's not for you.
Yeah. Now we get Albert.
Yeah.
Hey. You remember Albert Hosteen, don't you?
Yeah. He was the whole message guy type thing.
Yeah. Right. So Cancer Man takes Mulder to his new home, because we really buy that this is actually real and happening right now.
Yep.
Scully gets shown a camera blackout, which still has Mulder's mum and Cancer Man on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like the worst job of sabotage ever. It's like somebody's blacked out the camera, so they can't see.
Except the key moment.
Except the one square on there where you can clearly see Mulder's mum, and you can clearly tell that it's Cancer Man. You got the
Yeah.
cigarette. We've got the typical long trench coat that Cancer Man wears. It's clearly Cancer Man.
Yeah.
Talking to Mulder's mum. It's like
Mhm.
what? I'm sorry, but if you're spraying, I'm assuming it's been done with a spray.
Something like that, yeah.
That is the worst job of sabotage ever. Like,
Yeah.
why don't you just go
It's
all the way over the entire lens?
yeah, it's so unlucky for Cancer Man as well. It's almost like contrivance, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You could say that. You
it
could
just
say
doesn't ring true.
no. It's so contrived. It's so contrived. Like, yeah, pathetic. They may as well have just not blacked out the cameras, quite frankly.
Yeah.
They may as well have just had Cancer Man standing where he knows there's a blind spot. So
Yeah.
there's a blind spot here. We know that's Mulder's mum. And yeah, only people who know Cancer Man know from the cigarette, oh, that's got to be Cancer Man. But like this notion that they've blacked out the camera, but they've done such a piss poor job of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just have Mulder's mother take him out of the hospital and put him in Cancer Man's car, and a camera outside caught it.
Yeah.
I think like
Yeah.
another. Yeah. Anywho,
Mulder goes around his new home finding sunflower seeds and Deep Throat. Hello.
which is great. It's great to see him back, isn't it? Like just, and I'm glad to see him back just for a moment. Do you know what this scene reminded me of?
What?
The Prisoner.
The Prisoner?
Yeah.
What? Okay.
The TV show, no, Patrick
Yeah.
McGowan.
I'm not a number. I'm a human being.
Yeah, I don't know why I was getting that vibe from all this. I was just thinking it just the place where spies go to retire type thing, or
Yeah, just well, because it seems here that like we know this isn't real.
yeah.
So it's like, is Mulder, is Cancer Man going to try and trap Mulder in the suburban life?
Mhm.
To which
Yeah.
many people, I guess, feel they are trapped.
So because of my love for The Prisoner, I had a brief moment of going like, oh, that's quite fun. before the next drop off.
Before you woke up.
Yeah.
Okay. Mulder dreams of his child having his sand castle washed away by the tide. You can build it again.
Yeah.
It's like the metaphor is so on the nose. It's like
and everybody knows, like, see, once that sandcastle's gone, you're not building that again. Like, that's gone. like, you're like, I put so much effort into that, it's destroyed. I give up. I'm going away in a huff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mulder wakes up to Diana Fowley.
Yep.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Like in a previous life, like, you know, back in the 80s, early 90s, I might have said that Mimi Rogers was quite attractive. And I'm not saying she isn't still, but like because of the character, because of how annoying she's become. When she walks into the room and she's supposed to be all like, you know, sexy Farley, I'm just like,
I don't get the level of annoyance. Like, she's almost like just washes over me as a nothing.
I think it's just because I'd rather be spending time with Mulder and Scully, not Mulder. Like, I know that Mulder and Fowley is a non-entity. It's never going to happen. It's not a serious notion that these two would ever actually get together. So I just feel like we're wasting time. Like, get us to where we actually want to be. And it doesn't need to be a sexual thing. In fact, I'd probably rather it wasn't. I just want Mulder and Scully together, doing what they do. So Scully receives a parcel, a book called Native American Beliefs and Practices. The Anasazi, the Anasazi vanish without a trace. So yeah. presumably sent to her by Albert Hosteen.
Yeah. You'd imagine.
Yeah, you'd imagine. She calls Skinner, saying the book explains everything that she found in Africa. A foretelling of mass extinction, a myth about a man who can save us from it. They think Mulder's illness is a gift, protection against the coming plague.
I love that Skinner imbues exactly what I'm thinking and just hangs up. It's just like, I'm like, well done, sir.
Yeah, Skinner hangs up to Scully. So Scully marches into his office where budget Amy Adams tries to stop her. He's got a new secretary, and all I could think was just budget Amy Adams. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, how many
It's 'cause the last one beat
secretaries does
crap out of
Skinner? Yeah. He goes through so many secretaries, does our Skinner.
And if he's not going through them, Mulder is.
Yeah. So she tries to stop her but fails. Scully is being hurt by Krychek. Scully's?
No, Skinner's been
Skinner.
hit and Scully chases Krychek. We know it's Krychek, but
Yeah, I've written the wrong name there. It's great when you take notes, guys. Skinner is being hurt by Krychek. Scully pursues Krychek, but he escapes using a fire alarm. Nobody bothers about Krychek in his
can I just
scruff.
say, you're in an FBI office and someone shouts, "Stop that man." Nobody bats an eyelid. Like, literally nobody moves or even looks or is alert.
You know what? It's the thing that I picked up on, the thing I wrote in my note, is that for a start, Scully shouldn't have needed to have even shout, "Stop that man," because Krychek is wearing scruffs. He's literally in tracky bottoms, a hoodie, and a cap in
And
the
running.
FBI building. Okay. There ain't no one in that building who ain't wearing a suit
And sprinting through the halls.
and sprinting. He does not belong there. Any single person in that building that belongs there is going to look at this guy and think, you don't belong here. No one turns up to this building wearing that.
And I'll tell you what is magical about this is that we all know it's Krychek, but they didn't have to pay the actor because they probably didn't even use him. But yet we all know who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, it's funny. I feel like there's more comedy value in this episode than the last one.
Possibly.
It's not as funny when you're watching it, though. It's only funny talking about it.
It's a comedy of tragedy.
Mm-hmm. Mulder steps out of his house into the morning sunshine. Diana follows him out with his morning coffee.
Hello,
almost expecting her to bring him his slippers and his newspaper.
Yeah.
Calls him a child when he talks about being responsible. He tells him he needs to have kids, and Cancer Man lives in the next block over.
Yeah. In a bigger house.
Yeah. Like,
yeah. It's
just
like, because it's nothing. It's more nothing.
Yeah.
Because we know we're in his head, and it doesn't add anything to the story. It doesn't even add anything to this little world that they're in.
Yeah. It's like, you know, the game that's being played. That's the thing. And it's like somebody telling a joke and you know what the punchline is. And you're just waiting for him to get through this long spiel to build up to the punchline.
Yep.
Scully barges in on Critchgow, asks why he told someone about Mulder, blames him for Skinner being attacked. Sorry, Scully, that's your fault. Finds her photo on the UFO on Critchgow's computer. He says he was having them analysed by National Institutes of Health. as they prove that what's happening to Mulder is alien in origin. He talks about advanced human genetics. Mulder has become biologically alien. Scully deletes the files, and Critchko asks what she's hiding. Says it matters because other people are looking for it too. So, right. Okay.
Like, see, every time they sit down and have these kind of conversations, I find myself deeply, deeply uninterested. And I feel like it's conversations that aren't going to come to a satisfying conclusion, and it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. I zone out. Like, I had to wind this scene back a couple of times because I feel like they're throwing lots of information at us, but I'm not quite sure what it is that's of relevance, because
that's the problem. I don't think it really is.
It all feels like information that they'll backtrack on, like within a week, or but by the time the next mythology episode rolls along, they'll backtrack on it. Like, so at the moment you're telling us that Mulder is part alien, but is that ever actually going to come back? Will we ever talk about Mulder being part alien ever again? I do find it funny though that Scully blames Critchko for Skinner being attacked, when it's like, no, I think Skinner was attacked because you phoned him up and started telling him all about the book that was sent to you that is giving you everything you need. It's like, and now you're blaming Critchko. It's like, so that's the other thing. It's like Skinner Scully in this episode isn't even likable. And when Scully isn't likable, you know something's wrong, because she's always likable.
Yeah, and she's pretty wrong with most of her assumptions along the way as well.
Yeah. So Mulder and Fowley go to Cancerman's house. They see his grandkids and Samantha. Hey, Samantha. It's always good when Samantha comes back.
Is it?
No, it's not. Cut to Mulder on a table as Cancerman and Fowley contemplate what he might be dreaming about. It was a dream.
Shock. I almost feel like they should go from the dream world and go the back to reality.
Man, that is some like Dallas level stuff right there. Okay. Fowley walks the halls of the FBI. Scully asks for a cigarette. Let's cut the crap, shall we? Yes, let's. So they go somewhere quiet for a little chat. Scully demands Mulder's whereabouts. Fowley blames Scully for Mulder's current state. Scully tells her to think of Mulder and how he'd bust his ass to save her if the shoe was on the other foot. I'm thinking, Agent Scully. I'm always thinking, is her response. It's like,
lovely.
Yeah. Great stuff. I kind of just want Scully to punch her out, to be honest.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
But I'm glad she doesn't do it here, because it's in an episode where I'm actually quite irritated with Scully. So if she chooses now to punch out Fowley, I'd be like, they saved a great moment for the wrong time.
Yeah.
But Cancerman is prepped for. I mean, it's that the whole scene is like supposed to be indicating that maybe both of them are really trying to help Mulder, and you know, they're both on his side in some way, and it's just like, I don't care. Cancerman is prepped for a procedure. He and the doc talk about how no one could have predicted that Mulder would be the one immune to the alien virus. Even so, he might not survive the procedure and will therefore suffer the hero's fate. And I'm just like,
It's the start of season 7. He's going to survive.
That, but also, you've literally just put a line of dialogue in there that highlights the contrivance, that calls out the contrivance, which is that Mulder just happens to be the one who's immune. Like, this isn't something they foresaw, or at least based on what we've seen throughout the show, it's not something they foresaw. Mulder's never been the one who's been tested on. The time that he did get tested on was in Tunguska, and that was just like by pure happenstance that, you know, he was investigating, he got caught, and then they tested on him, and then he escaped. And it's like, it just so happens that the one person who ended up on the X-Files, ended up investigating this very thing, becomes the one person who is immune to the alien virus.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. It's like, it's because the writers need it to happen.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. But at least throw in like a reason as to why he's like immune. Like maybe they've done something to cause it. Maybe they, when he was tested, they created some kind of anomaly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe because he's been subjected to so many weird ass things over the years.
Yeah.
Mulder has a family and grows old quickly. Really quickly. With great makeup, gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah. But it feels like it takes a lifetime, even though it's quickly, you see.
Oh man alive.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's supposed to be that's what this episode makes me yawn. It's supposed to be like he's racing through his life, and we're just like, get there faster. Fowley touches his face. Cancer Man says, "Don't think of the man, think of the sacrifice he makes for the world." And we're just like, the dialogue is just really, it's so heavy and labored. Like, Mulder is an old man. Cancer Man tells him if he closes his eyes, he'll finally be able to see what the boy in the sand has been trying to show him. And then the acting from Duchovny in his scene, it's like, close your eyes. And then he goes, "Oh, okay." And he just puts this like weird happy face on, like, "Oh, I'm going to go and see my..." It's just, I sit there and I'm thinking, what am I watching?
Yeah.
What the hell am I watching? Like, this is the show that gave us like one of the first episodes of television that was banned because it was so brutal. It was so like, is that? And I'm watching this little whimsical moment of Mulder dreaming of his old life, and like it's just. So what we see is a UFO. He closes his eyes. He sees what's buried in the sand, and it's a UFO, which he starts to destroy.
Which we knew.
Yeah. Clearly knew that's what he'd be building in the sand. And he starts to destroy it. It's like, because, it's the metaphor for him destroying his dreams, destroying his pursuit of everything that he's held dear for the sake of this crappy dream world that no one's buying. Albert comes to Scully again to ask her to pray. There are more worlds than the ones you can hold in your hands.
Yeah.
Which I do like that quote. It's a nice little kind of, there are more worlds than the ones you can hold in your hands. It's kind of, okay. But Diana expresses doubts to Cancer Man that what he's doing may not be right. Oh, do you think? But he says Mulder's condition is a blessing from God, and they are doing God's work. Nice to know Cancer Man believes in God.
I think he thinks he's God.
Yeah, exactly. The docs can't get Mulder to stay under. Diana can't take it, so she walks out. Yeah. Dream, back in the dream, is like Mulder on his deathbed, talking to Cancer Man, being a complete wet lettuce, just not being the Mulder we know and love. Just like, there's no way he'd ever roll over like this. Everyone else has died. Cancer Man looks out the window, seemingly never getting older, which should be a clear dead giveaway to Mulder. Cancer Man looks out the window at a world ravaged by an alien invasion.
Yep.
Like,
it's a nice image.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unique. It's not something I haven't seen done before.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's not a suburban neighborhood.
Krychek burns Krichgau's apartment, leaving the body inside with a gunshot wound to the head. Yeah. It's a shame that we only see Krichgau's death off screen. It's like,
but it's not the only off-screen death we get in this episode, is it? So,
talking about the death of the show.
I think there's not a mention of another character that was found dead. Just
yeah, there is.
Yeah.
So it's just a shame because, like, I mean, both of them, two characters. I mean, like, that one kind of works because of what the surprise element they're trying to set up. But with Krichgau, it's like, for a character that has been, he's not been a massive character. He's not been in like every mythology episode like that. But he's done quite a chunk. He's been there for some of the mythology and played quite a hand in getting to.
But he's also been in the past 2 episodes. He's been one of the more interesting characters.
Yeah. So it just would have been nice to have, I don't know, a little bit of a fight between him and Krychek, just to throw a bit of excitement in there. But he's shot off screen. All we see is a body. It's like, oh, okay, bye, Krichgau. It just, you know what I mean? It just feels like a really cheap, like, we don't really get to. It's like, oh, okay, he's dead, as if he was just like a character that had only been in this episode.
Yep.
Scully wakes up to some mail. It's a key card. Then we go back to the dream because we love going back to that dream. It's Old Man Mulder gets called names by Scully before she leaves him alone, and it just, I love Gillian Anderson. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's a great actress.
Yep.
But her delivery with the, like, you can tell that Gillian Anderson and Dave Duchovny are having trouble now on the show. You can tell that they're getting past it. They get it. They're like, we want to go off. We want to do other things. We're roped into this show day in, day out with each other. And her delivery of these lines when she's like, "Come on, Mulder, get up, Mulder. You've got to get back in the game, Mulder." It's literally like she's just reading the lines and not really putting any kind of emotion in at all. I don't say that often about Gillian Anderson. I've said it a few times about Duchovny. There's been some funny moments. Field Where I Died being the most kind of obvious one. But that rarely happens, or that's rarely happened with Gillian Anderson, if ever, up to this point. But just that theme, it was so noticeable that she just doesn't want to be there. Scully finds Mulder using the key card. She gets into the facility that the key card belongs to, finds him, and then it's 1 week later. So we had Mulder waking up, didn't we? He wakes up after after the dream Scully says, "Get up, Mulder. It's time to go. Come on, fight the fight."
And that seemingly snaps him out of it somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, like why couldn't she have come in and like just proper slapped him? You know, like just bitch slapped him right across the face in the bed. Like, get up, you stupid idiot. You know, like really railroad him. But 1 week later, Scully comes to Mulder's to tell him that Diana was found murdered. So it's three. It's actually three characters.
Yeah. So this is the one I was referring to, because this is like, this is a bitch slap. This is a slap in the face for the actress. You know, like, you're not even getting to see a dead body. You're just like, your one line of dialogue. That's your demise. I mean, you must be happy about that, surely.
I'm not, because again, for a character that has such impact, whenever you just tell them or tell us the body's been found, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
So there's no finality to it. There's no like solid end. If you're going to kill a character like Fowley, if you're going to kill a character like Critchkow, I mean, at least we see Critchkow's body, so we know that's final. But it's just like with someone like Fowley, I want to see it. I need to see it. It's just if I don't see it, it didn't happen. So now we're left in the air. Like,
right, so you're thinking, oh, she could come back.
Yeah,
this is worse for you.
yeah, it's worse because it just keeps me on hold. Essentially, I'm always on hold. So apparently Diana was found murdered, but it could have been anybody's body, and then the tox report could have been faked, whatever. And it was her who sent the book of the book and the key card. So she sent the book about the Native American things, and she sent the key card. Mulder tells Scully that Albert Hosteen died in Africa after being in a coma for 2 weeks. So that's a third character, right? 3 characters that have had quite an impact on the show. All 3 are dead by the end of this episode, and all 3 of them die in a really unsatisfying way. Of the 3, I would say that Albert's works the best, because it does hinge on the fact that, Scully's been talking to him a few times, and it turns out, actually, no, he's dead. So anything that she's been talking to has been from beyond the grave. So that adds a bit of, like an air of, about it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's like, no, you've just killed Albert Hosteen off screen. You've just killed Diana Fowley, supposedly, off screen. And you've just killed Critchkow off screen. Like, are you telling me you couldn't have surrendered one of these many ridiculous dream sequences we had with Mulder in order to show us those deaths?
Yeah.
Pathetic.
They blew all their money on the apocalypse thing.
So he died in a coma, like after being in a coma for 2 weeks. She says she doesn't know what to believe anymore, which I'm sure like we've heard her say that before. Mulder says she is his touchstone. She says he is hers. And I'm like,
which Hallmark card did you get that out of?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, I don't need these 2 characters to say that to each other.
Nope.
Because we know that they know it.
Yep.
We know it. They know it. It's implicit in everything they've been through, everything they do, the way they interact with each other. So it's just this on the nose kind of moment that didn't need to happen. We get a final dream sequence with Mulder on the beach with the kid, rebuilding the UFO in the sand. Because, again, heavy-handed metaphor to show us that Mulder's back on the job. He's back to business. He's back to being just human and non-telepathic.
Can't believe
it. For next week's episode.
I cannot believe it. We made it through this. I'm so happy to have this behind me.
Yes.
This, it really did carry on from the last episode, as in it's meandering, it's pointless, it has no focus, there's nothing really interesting or redeeming about it. Like, unlike the Sixth Extinction, which I was forced to watch multiple times, I'm not sure I could have sat through more of this, rewatching this.
No.
Nothing of interest. The whole dream sequence I found to be frustratingly just nonsense. It added nothing. It had these points to say, but it beat you over the head with them. And it wasn't points that needed to be highlighted. There were stuff you could gather just throughout the series. I'm the only thing I don't know is it a score that matches the Sixth Extinction, or is it worse? I think it's worse. So it has to be a 1.5 for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a 1.5 for me. At least part 1 took place in the real world. So it meant that the stakes were real. Like, the stakes were uninteresting, but they were real. Whereas when you know you're spending half the episode in Mulder's head, and at some point he's got to come out of his head and wake up, you know those stakes are not real. There is 0. In fact, minus. We're in the minuses when it comes to the intrigue that this episode builds up. There is nothing of intrigue in this episode.
No.
I just do not care. Being in Mulder's head, knowing that the stakes aren't real, and just wishing the idiot would wake up. And the performances from both of our main leads are flat, which I don't like saying because I love this show so much. I am an absolute dyed-in-the-wool X-Files fanatic.
Yeah.
And I don't like saying that, but I've got to be real. I watched this and you know what? There's something about their performances in this episode that is off. Where I don't feel like the actors are committed to it. They don't even like what they're doing, I don't think, in this episode.
Yeah. I think you're right there. You can see it in some of the performances. You can see it in you can just see it in the performances, to be honest. Like, I think that's the biggest aspect. I think the storyline is all over the place, and the actors probably know it.
Yeah.
Like, and it just kind of craps on a lot of what's come before. But it's just like we've made it, Brian. Season 7 can only get better.
Yes.
It can get worse. So I'm hoping like we've just got out the blip at the start, and to put this behind us, tell me a little bit about Hungry, episode 3.
Now, listen, Hungry isn't an episode I've seen that many times. I think I may have only seen it twice.
Okay.
Now, I remember not liking it at all that much the first time I watched it. But that was when I was watching it on, weekly episodic television, and I was coming off the back of this 2-parter, and I was maybe thinking as a fan that the show was on rocky ground, and I might have gone into Hungry a bit overly critical, shall we say. Right. I do remember watching it a second time a few years back and thinking, it's not as bad. It's not as bad as I remember. It's certainly a heck of a lot better than the 2 episodes we've just seen. So, I'll be intrigued to
see. I'm a little bit curious to see how this one plays out, because if it's just if it's like an average episode for X-Files, would I think it's better than average because of the 2 episodes that came prior to it? Like, there's that there's like a psychological aspect of how do you perceive things.
Yeah. I know it's written by Vince Gilligan, and Vince Gilligan does tend to be a good sign. I think the only Gilligan episode. Well, I've not been down on any Gilligan episodes. The only Gilligan episode you were down on was Tithonus, but beyond that, he's always been pretty strong when it comes to
there's been some good episodes. That's good. I feel relieved. These episodes, Brian.
I feel like we can get going again now. I feel like now that we've got these two out of the way, we can. Oh, okay. Let's crack on.
Do you know what I'm really interested in? I'm really interested to hear what the listeners and viewers out there think of these two episodes.
Yeah,
I really want to see if it's just us, or if they have a similar feeling, or if they love one more than the other. So I'm looking forward to reading some of the comments on Spotify or on YouTube to see what they think, which will be great. And as always, like we like to say, if you want to subscribe, comment, share, anything at all to get the X-Files out there, that we do, it'd be fantastic. It helps it grow, helps keep us encouraged and enthused to continue to keep going with this, which we sometimes need, that little push. And we'll see you next week for Hungry. Thanks for watching.